Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Power to the People podcast, and thank you so much. Today, I am joined by the lovely Malachi Ramirez and Jadyn Nguyen, and I'm super
Nice.
excited to have both wonderful gentlemen with me today because we are going to be talking about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart that I have a lot of strong opinions on, but I don't think we address it enough as a community. And that is our community heroes and the Unspoken God Company.
Mhm.
This is also part of a segment called Power. To This is part of a segment called Power in Community, and today we are joined by Jadyn because Jadyn is prominent figures in our community, somebody who knows how to bring people together and organize, um, and then there's I'm
Wow.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Very, very flattering.
No, Malachi. Malachi is actually one of our editors on the podcast, but more than just an editor on our podcast, he is also a community member who does a lot through student voice and leadership, and who I have known for a very long time, very dear friend. Just all around gets it, and I'm super excited to be doing this with.
Absolutely,
Is that
absolutely.
better?
Yeah.
You gotta add, like, what's that word? Like pizzazz or skedaddle to
Yeah,
it, you know?
sorry. I love to give Malachi a hard time.
Mhm.
Wait, am I supposed to say something?
I don't know.
Oh,
However we want to go. I mean, I can start us off if you guys want.
I'll
Yeah,
follow your
let's get it
lead. Yeah.
started.
Okay. Well, whew, I've been doing community events and community organizing. It was about 15, and it all started with doing small things at the school, kind of speaking at events, going and speaking publicly at the Capitol, and even internships at the Capitol. So I know more of the education in Denver, and that's where my talents and lie. Um, but I know we've all seen a little bit of everything, from education to the local art scene to where we are today, and how all of that moves towards some sort of social justice. And um, one thing that I noticed that we don't talk about enough is how many of our community heroes, they are heroes, have tend to get so engulfed that slowly over time it became more about personal glory, at least in my eyes. And many times I wonder, how do we avoid getting to that point? How do we make sure that when we are leading, we are not just doing it, for our own personal gain? And obviously, you're going to think of your community, but how do you make sure that you set up the generation after you to lead as well? One day I'm not going to be here, and I don't know if it's tomorrow or the next day, but I do know that or I exist to inspire at least the movement, and not necessarily.
Mhm.
Well, why are we talking about death? Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. I just meant, like, years from now, or like,
No, it's
God
pretty well.
forbid anything happens, but like, it's not gonna it shouldn't end with me, right? It should start with me, and it should be an actual movement rather just something so sedentary, which is, just me being the star of the show. How am I gonna make sure that, like, the younger generation is also taking up and doing something about all of the issues that we care about so much?
Mhm.
Mhm.
I mean, for me, I kind of think like the lens that when you say that, I look I look at that through the lens of mostly like nonprofits, but like education people. Like theoretically, we should be, if you start something to solve a problem, theoretically you should not exist. Obviously, nothing's easy, but like theoretically should not exist maybe within the next like 50 years, maybe if you want to give yourself enough time. I think like the perfect example is like Teach for America. Um, like they started out, and word on the street is like they were seen as like revolutionary when they were first starting out, but I don't know how long they've been around, but I'm pretty sure they were here since the 90s. But even to now, I still think they're doing the same things. So not they, I don't think they've actually like solved the problem of like teacher talent. They've just become part of. They're just kind of perpetuating the system, and they kind of do benefit from it. Like as long as they keep getting money, they can keep putting. I don't want to like call out the teachers, but I mean, it's so weird too, because like my like almost immediate network is mostly like TFA people too. If they're not like in the classroom, they're like outside of the classroom doing stuff around education already. Um, but like theoretically, orgs like that should not exist anymore because they should do things that put them out of business essentially, or they should evolve into something else, um, and not just like perpetuate the problem or not solve it. I don't know if the word is perpetuate, but like they're obviously not solving the problem. So you got to do something else, like new strategy.
Yeah, I think perpetuate is the fine word. I've had a couple of Teach for America teachers, and
Yeah.
they weren't bad teachers, but
Yeah.
they were one and done teachers. Like they were in the school for a year and then they had other plans. So
I Hearing that, it gives me so many mixed emotions because I've also had TFA. They are doing some actually the TFA program and are two of the
You're
talented
Mhm.
and caring teachers, like Cam and one other Yan, who I'm also trying to get on the podcast. Um, but after after you talk to them for a while and you figure out why they're taking this path, you realize it wasn't TFA who did this. This person was already caring and kind and
oh yeah.
wanted to pursue this career, and TFA was just an option for them. But I do agree that it's become a cycle, and sometimes we're so engulfed in trying to break the cycle that we're part of it. I don't know if that's super contradictory on my part, but you know, with something like TFA that started out so revolutionary and just kind of has just become another branch of the system, and nothing, like you said, Jadyn, is really being solved. It is it's really heartbreaking, and it's heartbreaking. Same people go over and over again, and then you do. I feel like I interact with a lot of the unicorns of education who like love their jobs so much and go on to do amazing things as both teachers and leaders in our community. And then there are others who you can very much tell do it with a resume and put it on there and say that they did this and that they got the experience and
That they taught in the hood.
right, that they taught in the
Yeah.
hood, that they came to Little Montbello and taught our kids, and then in turn tokenize our kids and use them and put them on all the newspapers and the billboards and in the statistics, and are like, come to our school, like we're so great because we produced X, Y, and Z teacher or X, Y, and Z student. But then you sit around and you think about it, nothing.
That
Mhm.
that's kind of it's not funny, but it's kind of funny, like being on being on the receiving end of it, like being the student that TFA teachers go to,
Yeah,
because their whole model is like they send you to like I don't know their exact words, but it's like needs areas
yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
areas that need talent,
Mm-hmm.
like to be on the receiving end, it's like it's kind of not a good thing,
Right.
but like
Mhm.
they're there.
No, but then the
It's
God
funny.
complex thing happens, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
you feel like, well, I'm going into this program to go and teach in an underprivileged community because only I can. It's like that movie that I hate so much. Freedom
Wait, which one?
Riders?
What's that
Freedom
about?
Riders. Oh yeah, the one
Yeah.
where the white teacher goes into the black school and
Yeah.
magically makes
Oh,
the
okay.
English
I
class
watched
way
it.
better.
I watched it once and I was like, this is some bullshit. Like
Yeah.
but that's like, if you need an example of what the God complex looks and feels like, that's it right there. Like, I'm going into this community because I can solve the issue. It's me. But are we
Mhm.
focusing on, and especially I see this why I left my education career. Um, After actually working in a school as a para, I saw so many of our amazing teachers burn out so quick. And a lot of our first and second years teachers leave in their first and second year. And it goes from elementary all the way up to high school, you know, because we got to firsthand experience it going to those schools. Um, but then I got to see it as somebody who worked in the building, and a lot of these people would come in super excited to teach and leave at the end of the day saying that we were a hard group or that it's really difficult. And both as somebody who has had to be in that seat and be somebody's coworker, those are really hard things.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, none of these things are easy, especially like education or just growing a child. None of it's easy. I mean, these problems exist because they're big and complicated. And if it were easy, it probably would have been solved yesterday. But and like one thing that I've learned, like especially this past year, just like more time on social media, is that there really are people who are working towards these things. You know, like whether it's like separated families at the border, you might say like, why isn't nobody doing anything about this? But there are orgs like families belong together, or like the COVID crisis in India. Why isn't there anybody doing this? But there are people. They're just probably really busy, or like I don't know, they don't have time to like create a marketing campaign about like all the work that they're doing because they're already doing it. Yeah. So there's like abundance in all of this. Um,
Um,
No.
I was also gonna go to the fact there are many community heroes about our age, our followers, not necessarily in the first, etc. Right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I have never seen any of them prepare other youth to run for office. I have never seen them ask other youth, and I can attest to this because that's really the place where I've been in. I know when I met both, well, not when I met both of you, but when we worked together back in 2019, I said I hate politics and I'm never gonna get involved, and I don't want anything to do with that. Literally the following semester after we got done,
you did an internship.
I was interning at the Capitol for Senator Robert Rodriguez. He hands down one of the most down to earth people ever, and what I thought was going to be a miserable learning time was super fun, super eye opening, and human. Um so with that being said, um being spoiled like I was and was matched with such a wonderful leader, I got to see a lot of leaders who were not very wonderful. And I saw a lot of it just be completely neglecting youth. And I think we are one of the biggest and most growing voices in not only Colorado but in our nation in general, as young people, and that we are going to have a lot of voting power in the next coming years. A lot of us are graduating. A lot of us um and that, I don't want to say it this way because it sounds very weird, and I don't want to have this language stick in people's brains. So instead of saying it's dangerous, I'm going to say it's very powerful. Um, it's a very powerful move to have a huge generation of kids who believe in so many things and know exactly how to use their voices finally get to the ages where they're allowed to vote. And
Mhm.
many of us try to be this influential voice to gather the rest of the youth and be able to do. But are we teaching our youth organized? Are we teaching how to vote, why it's important? Or are we just saying we have all this influential power, this is the greatest generation? We actually taking some action to prove that, you know? And many people I've seen come and go through these Capitol doors don't want or want to be the only young person to do these.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
just not how it works. And Malachi, I know you have experience with this through student vote, student voice, and I really want you to talk about.
Yeah, so I mean, like, even as somebody who's young, it's important. Like, there's always people younger than us, and there's always gonna be
yeah.
like the next generation up, and like that's always been something that's been important to me as a leader is preparing the next group of leaders, the next generation. And I mean, that's why I involve myself with like Project Voice and Student Voice, Student Votes, because like one, Student Voice, Student Vote helps me be a young leader, but like my work with Project Voice helps me uh, teach youth how to organize. But I feel like I definitely know what you're talking about when it comes to I want to be the youngest, I want to be the newest, the young gun, and I don't know. Those type of people kind of annoy me, especially when they don't involve other young people. Um, because a lot of times they like take that angle of I'm a young person, so I'm other young people's allies, and then they just don't show up afterwards once they get their stuff, get their power.
Word is that Malachi is teaching a class this summer about organizing, right?
I
Yeah.
am. I am. It is our voice, which is project voice programming. I've been working on uh, how do I say this? Redesigning their curriculum, and
Nice.
this summer I will be teaching it.
I'll admit I had an identity, not like crisis, but like when I did graduate out of high school, I kind of had like an identity. I guess the word is crisis, but it's not crisis. But I can't think of another word where it's like I'm not in school anymore, so I can't use the title of a student anymore. So how do I like what basically like what value do I bring into the spaces that I show up in? Because when I was in school, like when I was in high school, when I would show up to like networking events, I could just say like I'm a student, and somebody was like, "Oh, we need a student voice," and then they would invite you to like X thing. But once I graduated, I wasn't considered students anymore. So like, as I didn't know what to do. Um, I mean, all is fine now, but that was something that I did grapple with.
But
I will, yeah,
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I think that's a really good point to bring up because, you know, everybody has their different paths and everybody chooses, you know, everybody has their own path and everybody chooses what to do with their own life. So it's unfair that as young people, unless you're a student, you get asked to speak it, right? Can you just be an extraordinary community member? Can you just be a person in your representation? That's also something. Well, and that can be another God complex. I know I experienced that as a student. I was like, well, I'm a student and I'm one of the only students in this room. But then it clicks and you're like, wait, why am I the only student in this room? And why isn't there more of us? And why am I always the one chosen to speak at these events? It's not because I'm special, because I'm Latina. I'm a student. It's because I'm first generation, and I am the overall encompassed like little token that people can shove to the front row and say we are representing our students. And no, I'm not the only face of the student body, and there are very many other representations. There's many other people who aren't just students. There's many young community members who still need a voice at the so I think that's a really important. Jadyn.
no, I had another thought, but one thought that came up too is I'm not sure if this is, I think identity politics is something else, but I kind of think about how, um, like, I do think your identity matters. Like, obviously, it's like, who am I that matters, but, I can't exactly put the words together, but it's like, does identity matter? Does identity really matter that much? Because I think about how sometimes, like when if you had like if somebody's a writer and they're white, they're just considered a writer. But if somebody's black and they write about black things, they're considered a black writer. You know, it's kind of like wait, did you two
Mm,
watch Captain America or yeah, Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Yeah,
I
or
did
no?
not.
I did.
Well, so the whole like I guess like under or there's like one line I'm pretty sure you've seen on TikTok, Malachi, where I want to make sure I get this right, where it's like the whole thing is Sam Wilson, his whole thing is not being black Captain America, his whole thing is being Captain America, you know?
Mm.
Like when
Yeah.
do we get rid of just like not the black part, but just like the identity part, you know, when I'm just Captain America or when I'm just considered a writer. Um because one thing too, like I remember, do you remember when Wisdom came into our Future to Next thing, and he was like, he just sat, or he just was like dropping knowledge. I remember he talked about like trauma porn, like avoiding trauma porn. Like I wouldn't introduce, like let's just say I was homeless, I wouldn't introduce Jadyn as like, here's my homeless friend. That's just messed up. One, but like you would just introduce them as like, this is my friend Jadyn, you know.
Mhm.
Or houseless, you know, like you wouldn't talk about their problems. You talk about them as a whole person. Or Corey, my current boss, he says like at when we talk about students, we have to talk about them through the lens of assets rather than their deficits, you know. Because we're just, I mean, we're all like, I mean, the science says we're all not to say that we're all. I don't think we're like biologically we're all literally the same, you know. But like obviously we have our unique identities. But I do wonder like when do we stop talking about not when do we stop, but I guess just like when do we stop talking about identity? You know, when do I just become a writer? When do I just become Captain America? You know?
I think what you're getting, and correct me if I'm wrong, is when is our identity not going to be super amplified and
Yeah,
for only that, and actually what like goes on in my head and the I care for my society and I care for my community to when it is my identity not the only reason why you're inviting me to the table, but that you genuinely
yeah.
talk to you about.
Clip that. Clip that.
Because it's like, it's one thing about going to college and going down to the actual campus. It's been nice to break from the lie,
That's
but
good.
is seeing the pamphlets and like either seeing your face on there or like you and a couple friends and you're like, because we're the only brown people in this department, yeah. And you're
Mhm.
like, well, I signed a paper at the beginning that was like, you could use my image because I go to school here. Um, but that's what it is. It's am I being represented or am I being marketed?
Felt like a thing in my.
Huh?
I felt like a burp coming up, but like I didn't want to. That's awkward. Anyways,
You're good.
Malachi, you'll edit that out, please. I'm just kidding.
I will.
Malachi will edit that out.
I will say though, I really do like what Project Voice is doing. I do think or not even just Project Voice, but just what people are doing. I will say that I do think like one reason why I like podcasting or just people posting their stuff is is the content. You know, I really do. I do think that like in terms of like just Denver, not the United States, but just like Denver, like the nonprofit community. I do think that like content is what's going to set. I don't want to say what sets us apart, but it's just going to be really important. You know, like if because Project Voice doing things about teaching learners how to how to like basically run their workshops and charge people for it or make money from it.
Mhm.
I think that's important. And then when you can, if you were to record that and then publish that, whether it be online, whether it be a course that people can buy into or just like YouTube and people can watch for free, like that's super impactful. Like to just that like that kid at Lincoln High School who has some thoughts on activism and wants to but also wants to make money, you know, then they could just watch that video and learn how to do it. Or um like Yabo posting podcasts like we make podcasts, then a student in Aurora could find Yabo records at Empower Community High School. They could just go there and be like, oh, I want to learn how to do this, you know? Like that to me is the juice. I plugged my workplace.
Yeah.
No biggie, no biggie.
No, I think it's real though. I'm really excited. That's one reason why I do follow the people that I follow. Not because, I mean, they are cool, but just because like it's the genius, you know, it's it's them, you know. Seeing or even just like seeing, I follow Malachi pretty closely. I don't know if that's weird to say out loud, but like,
It's not.
even just seeing Malachi like
You
rants
wouldn't be the
on,
only one, Jadyn.
Yeah.
even seeing him just rant on whatever topic is cool to me, you know. And when you build that community of people who are, I don't want to say like-minded, but like-minded, then you combine them like the Avengers, and then you can, I don't want to say blow up things, but then you can, you know, take on bigger initiatives, you know. Um,
Mhm.
I think I snagged him.
yeah, I gotta recruit him. It's like basketball.
Yeah. When you say you see me rant, what do you see in this on?
No,
That's
just in
funny.
general, like just when,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
just in general. Nothing in particular.
All right. Yeah. I think I don't think it's an issue to be around like-minded people. As long as you're humble, because like especially with like people with the God complex, our leaders with the God complex, I feel like it's not the best for them to be around those kind of people all the times. Especially yes men kind of people.
It's been like yes to everything, or
Yeah, like people that won't give critical feedback. I
uh,
feel like that's a big issue with a lot of our leaders that do have this kind of God complex, especially when it comes to like issues that they're working on. Like they kind of feel like they have the word of God as to what the correct answer is. Um,
damn.
because I just feel like that's an issue, especially with how community organizing works and how working with your community works. Because you need to hear what they feel is important, even if it's not the people that you talk to or if it's people that you like. Just because it's not somebody you like or someone you don't agree with doesn't mean that their voice is any less impactful and important.
Pretty real.
And like
Hmm.
we celebrating those as a leader, you can get so stuck in who you are and the struggle you had to go through, and then reflecting what everybody else has had, what everybody else has experienced. So I think one of the most effective forms of leadership is other people's stories and amplifying those stories. And I think Jane and I think that's where you and I share a common ground, and where you and I initially bonded is I just want to tell people stories, and I want to, even through this podcast, to show everybody that we're not a one size fits all generation. I feel like we get grouped together like that, but I think we're one of the most diverse generations, um, vocal generations that I've seen. And we have all of these wonderful media platforms where our voices are unified, and I think that's extremely powerful. I not I think I know for a fact that
I did see a headline that said something along the lines of Gen Z is the most active and activist or politically engaged and most depressed. um,
it
which
goes
was like
hand in
really,
hand, honey.
yeah, I didn't like that doesn't make sense. Like, is that a, should we be celebrating or should we be like making therapy mandatory or something?
Definitely making therapy mandatory. But I think there's the greatest explanation is also, it's a definitely a double-edged sword to be super active and want to know everybody's stories and share them, but then we run the risk of drowning in all of it, right? It's really hard to escape news and media, um, social media, through the TV, through whatever it is that you have available to through the internet, which makes all of this information available to us. um, it can get really sad, and especially when actively needs to know things and be up to speed, because the type of it can get really depressing and make you very sad. It makes me very sad every day.
I'm like sometimes I do get. I'll be honest. I'll be lying if I said I didn't get sad, but generally I'm optimistic because I do think that like I don't know what the word is for going forward, but like history shows that like time as we go forward in time we get more.
Progressive.
Yes, as we go forward in time, like we just become more progressive. Like whether it
Mhm.
be like even in Hollywood movies, for example, I I in the early 2000 like 2001 2010 you could tell that more like at least for me from what I've noticed like women were more portrayed as just like sexual or like I don't want to say objects but basically just like that, you know. But lately, but like now or more recently, I feel like it's more whole. Not to say that everything's perfect, and I don't follow Hollywood like daily. But I do think movies give representation to folks who aren't males like more credit. I think is a word. Um, not credit, more. I don't want to say dignity either, but just like letting them be their whole selves, you know. Or the characters that they're portraying.
I feel like they're definitely accurate representation rather. Although there are some movies that I feel like, what year are y'all living in that we have the stereotypical brown person in the background? Do better.
Yeah.
But there has been some amazing shows that have, for example, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I didn't expect them to go in the direction that they did, with Sam wanting to be just Captain America and not just not stereotypically black Captain America, but saying that line of when is it gonna be enough for me to be just Captain America. Um, so I'm glad that large entertainment industries like Marvel are able to do that. Not to say that there isn't any work left to be done, because oh god, there is. But it definitely.
I want to be a superhero.
You are a superhero, Jade.
Yeah, but I want to be like Spider-Man or something, or like
Hey, my damn compliment.
Shang-Chi, you know, or freaking Iron Man, flying around and making stuff. Yeah. By the way, Malachi, that was really, I was being serious about the content stuff. Like, I hope that like I know for Yabo, for example, I hope to like push forward just like posting more things that we do so that people can see what we're doing, but not just seeing it, but just like building that brand, you know. I think it's the word.
Yeah,
Um, I was gonna talk to Rashawn about it. Like, hey, should post some more stuff, you know.
definitely. It's kind of hard sometimes to remember to show people. I feel like pretty much what we've been talking about. I almost feel this sounds like wrong to say because it almost sounds backwards. But I feel like it's easy to not show myself off enough, or like even show my organizations off enough. And sometimes it feels like, and I feel like my friends that aren't as political kind of help with that, like showing like you're not showing yourself off enough because they'll be like, "What are you even doing?" And I'm like, "Well, they don't know what I'm doing, so maybe
Yeah.
I should show myself off a little bit more and like show the community what we're about." But I don't know.
There's
Kind
this.
of. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
There's this fear that comes with that, though, right? Like, at least for me, there is. Like, I really want to constantly, and I think I did it a lot when I was
Oops.
at the Capitol, because I was so proud that I was at the Capitol. But every day I was
Mhm.
like, I'm here, and I cannot believe I'm here. Because I hated, anything that had to do with politics. But it helps a lot in the long run, because that sticks with people. But how do you do it without seeming like you're trying to be better, right? Because these opportunities should be open to everyone, not just me. But
Mhm.
I'm very excited that I'm doing it and I want to share with you. But I recognize that, it comes off a certain way. I do it. And I don't know if that's just me being in my
I
own head.
I don't. I would say Christine. Her name's CDL. She's a woman who founded Moonshot Adventures. She says, or one quote that Corey says that she says, CDL says, who's the founder of Moonshot, that you have to have enough ego to think that you can do it, and enough humility to know that you can't do it, or you have to have people behind you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
and that's specifically for like the education people because that's what they mostly do. They work around education. But like we live in a capitalist society, and I'll be honest, one of the main benefits that I know of when it comes to like building your personal brand or your company brand is people will pay. You know, like when they know that you've been posting like hundreds of videos about social justice or about how DCST needs or how high performance no excuse schools need to change their ways. When you have 100 videos of content to back that, then people can like they'll know that or not they won't know, but like you can use that as a negotiation of like I won't work for you unless you pay me like 6 figures or 10,000 or whatever it is, whatever your price point is. Um, I was gonna say Padres y Jóvenes Unidos is doing pretty good at what they're doing. Like they have, I think there's somebody who runs I think they have a TikTok account, but they recently launched like merch, and they would just like post videos about what they're doing, or just yeah. It really because that's what I'm getting about social media. It's really just posting. It's not about being fancy. I think you just press the button and let the internet see what you're doing. Because
Hmm.
those who want to watch, listen, and learn, they'll watch, listen, and learn.
Kind of just in a win
Yeah.
showcase, in a way that is welcoming and inviting, and don't put too much thought behind it other than
Hmm.
You know, Etnium, Teray, um, like I was gonna sound weird, but I was gonna say I have a crush on him. I have a work crush on him. I have a work
it's
crush, all right?
okay. You can have a
Yeah.
professional crush on someone.
I said that in a Yabo meeting, and
Uh-huh.
Christina and Corey were like, "What the heck?" like, no,
There are
no,
other
it's fine.
words like admire,
Yeah, yeah,
look up
yeah.
to.
No, but I really do like what they're doing though, because I remember in the beginning stages of when they were doing what they're doing, I'd follow them, but I didn't really know what they were doing. But then when I was scrolling through just their podcast stuff, they've had like at the time they had like 20 episodes already posted, and this guy I talked to, Sean Green, was on there. It's like, oh crap, you're on there. So it was content to listen to, and then they had like Miss Bacon on there or Rep Bacon. And then they had Senator Coleman, so it was just like more content. Like, oh crap, actually, there's a lot of stuff to go to, you know. And then now I'm
Hmm.
attracted to like their content now, you know. Beautiful.
Yeah. Just getting the word out there. That can be the most difficult part about organizing.
Yeah, they're just on the news today too. I don't know about today, but recently I saw on Instagram. Yeah, I like them.
I was gonna say a lot of. Sorry, I also got off of a workshop for public comment for my job. I have to know how to do these things and how to organize people to do. Even though I'm merely the finance slash operations person, um, uh, our executive director. I work at Claro, by the way. I don't know if that's been said on the podcast at all, but I don't think I've mentioned that in any episode. Damn, I'm lacking. Um, but I work at the
But you
Colorado.
mentioned the bank.
Anyway, I work at the Colorado Latino Leadership and Organizing Research. Let me do it.
Research and organizing.
What are our acronyms? Colorado Latino Leadership Advocacy and Organization. I'm always going to butcher that name, but I work at Claro. And a lot of what we do is making sure that parents, and similar to Padres y Jóvenes, I know they're primarily parents and students getting involved in education politics, but we organize further than just education politics and federal and state politics. And so our executive director is not shy of having me do these things and learn about these things. And one thing that I noticed that a lot of organizations, and I can say that we're struggling a little bit in this department too, is social media. it's a platform that's free and available to us that we need to learn better. Something that very few organizations do really well. For example, Padres y Jóvenes. But there are so many more wonderful organizations, coalitions that I know of that are just like, you cannot find them on social media. They maybe have a
Unless you're,
website, or
yeah,
unless you're close to somebody who works there, right?
yep, yeah.
So
Oh, what? Oh, it's like, wait, what happened? Did she just disappear?
my trash can is down here, and I have to like lean over to throw
Oh.
things away. I'm sorry. I know I just kind of dipped out. So I think having people like us three there, in that organizations is a huge advantage, you know, and we can not only teach organizations who've been around for a really long time how to switch up and put themselves on a social media platform and put themselves out there so that our organizing is even stronger and gets even bigger, and the word gets out even more, because the way that my organization currently does things is so incredible, and they can get a large group of people to such a short amount of time, and there's like
Yeah, that's
10
important.
of us on staff, right? And that's really important. That's important, especially if you need to show up to the Capitol to you know, promote a bill or do some lobbying or just send people in the right direction, right? Now, how much more could we do if we on these social media platforms in large way? But I guess that's a completely different topic for another. I just thought it was
Honestly,
worth bringing up.
if I didn't have a job and I needed to do something, I would start like a social media marketing company. Because there's Change. I think it's called Nick Brown, I believe is his name, founded or he co-founded part of an organization called Change or Effect.org, and they do like political organize. They do political camps. They do social media for political campaigns, like they did for Miss Bacon when she was running for school board. They did that. But there's nobody. There's not. At least from my current knowledge, there's no organization that does social media work specifically for the nonprofit folks or I guess social justice people. That's good. To whoever's listening, that could be a thing. I hope you do it. If you do it, can I be on your board, please? Please and thank you.
Man, it sounds like something.
That is a wonderful marketing idea that I will steal. It's not anyone listening.
yeah.
It's Maddie. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, it's
Yeah,
real
sounds
though.
like sounds like a great idea that you should do.
Me?
Jadyn.
Oh, Jadyn. I was like, I am not the person for it, but Jadyn got the idea. Get your.
I mean, it's just an idea though. I wouldn't. If I think if I had actual energy for it, I would have started it last
You
year
just
maybe
don't have
probably.
the energy for it.
Yeah, it's because I don't like. I like the idea of content and like community. I like the idea of marketing, but I don't know if I'm particularly like have the energy to like actually put it into effect. You know, that's why I like having these conversations with people who work in orgs like Project Voice, and then just whispering into their ear like, "Hey Malachi, you should post on Instagram about your workshop." Because even if it's just like, even if it's a segment of Malachi dropping some knowledge during the summer and then post it, like that's valuable. You know.
Mm-hmm. Think about that.
Yeah.
I'll definitely bring that to Tez, Rashawn, and Vanessa,
Mm-hmm.
and we start doing those.
Got about 5 minutes. If anything, are kept me humble. Like you were earlier. Yeah. It's important to have people who are like-minded, and it's important to be around people who are like-minded. Being able to, and both of you have really done. You two have been there throughout some of my most humbling experiences that really taught me that I cannot do this work alone. It's not about me. I'm not end-all be-all person. I don't have the word of God for all of the solutions. when it comes to education, when it comes to politics, especially existing at Claro for as long as I have. I think I've been with them about 7 or 8 months now. That has humbled me greatly because there's so much that I don't know and so much that I am learning, so much that I learned from both of you, that I learned from workers, that it would really, truly would be impossible to. So I'm so glad that the two of you have become a great part of my. I hope that we never lose that connection with each other because I know eventually we will go on to do our own thing. That means we are creating.
I'll be watching you too. I'll be watching. I'll be watching.
Well, hopefully that creates an even stronger network, you know, and it won't just be us forever, and we know that. So, and together prepare the generation after us and our own generation too, you know, because although we are wonderful and like-minded, we still need a.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Community. In like I think back to in Lakesh, you know, like that's some like like if words were fire or if words were like a thing you can feel, that's like literal fire. And you can
Tangible.
yeah, that's the word. If words were tangible, like in Lakesh is like some freak, it's like the sun, you know? You can use it just like knowing that like I am like you are another me, I am another you, like we're in this together. It's like some drugs. It's not. It's more than fire. It's like drugs, honestly. Like I don't know. It gets to me. It gets to me.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's definitely fuel, and I used it a lot at the beginning of all of this. Malachi
Mhm.
knows he was there.
I know. I was
made
like,
them
no,
repeat
yes.
it absolutely every day. I was like,
When I-
listen, we are
when
a
I first
team,
met
all
him-
right?
Or like when as I got closer with him, he kept bringing it up. I was like, man, what the? Is this like a cult thing? But it's like I think it's one of those good cults. It's a good thing. It's a good thing though. It's a really it's a good drug. It's a good fire. It's a good sun you should have in your
It's a
life.
good fire. It is a very good fire. It works. Trust me, I know.
Yeah.
Because it's so true. You know, it's those words that tú eres mi otro yo. You are me. So if I'm doing things to take care of myself, I know that I'm doing
Yeah.
my community. It, it's not my self-interest.
Yes.
Togetherness, community, very very important. That's why this segment is called Power in Community. Thank you, Malachi, because that makes them.
Cut right here real quick. I gotta go let my mom in.
Okay.
Don't fall. Don't fall. I'm about to go talk to a bunch of these leaders. Hey, just post some more. We should do it first so that we could actually like show them like it's not that we should do it first, but just yeah, I think the punchline is lead by example, you know.
Yeah, definitely. It's a hard thing to do when you're one of the first people doing it and you're one of the pioneers and trying not to be like, well, I'm the pioneer, I'm the one who started. Like, no, I'm doing this so that there could be a larger network and a bigger effort towards doing these.
What have I missed out on?
Talking about the power of just posting, or how we're talking about the just how these social or nonprofits should post more content, not like post we're having an event, but post like the actual juice of yeah. We said this. Malachi dropping knowledge on Project Voice Instagram page, and then some rich person might say like, "Whoa, they're doing cool stuff." Then they donate money to Project Voice. Then Project Voice does it again, do it again, and yeah.
It's interesting, yeah.
A different cycle. Yeah, there's a lot of part of the reason why I am Malachi. I don't know if I'm, but I'm producing Laro actually.
Oh, this one. Yeah.
Because Claro has the Capital Fellowship program that I not volunteered at, that I signed up for, and I found out about it through social media. Shared with me a friend, and a friend went through the program, and I saw her do it. But I've noticed that donations flood in. Again, I'm the finance person for Claro, so I would know this, but donations flood in once we showcase our fellows. Once we show who they are and what they do, and where people's grant money
That's
is
good.
going
That's
to,
good insight.
right?
That's good
So,
insight.
yeah, these longer episodes for Claro will be telling the story of what the Capital Fellowships do and what they have gone on to do after the program, and hopefully that gets Claro on the map, that puts Claro out there and really shows everybody what we're really about, because it's one of our biggest things, if not it's the thing that we're known for. So hopefully that grows programs and can't just do these things. Claro kindly
Should
enough,
put me on.
I will put you on. Claro kindly enough puts actually the next cohort is, I think we're taking application summer, so wait.
My summer's really
They
packed.
don't start until
Yeah,
next
the
year.
man's
So
teaching.
you
Oh, okay,
apply
okay.
you apply in the summer, and it's a program for the next year. So it's kind of
Okay.
a
Oh,
lengthy process.
it's for. Is it for the legislative
It's for the
session?
legislative session, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool then.
Yeah, so you know how that
Yeah,
works.
I'm on my way. Yeah.
But yeah, I've noticed that happens, and it's wonderful to see that journey on my own and having gotten to experience that on my own. But now, again, I'm all about telling other people's stories. So people will know, hopefully, what I'm talking about from having seen me do it. And it'll be a little bit more amplified once I have other fellows putting Claro on the map. Never about me,
So,
I promise. It's
so
never.
this
I
the
don't think
part.
it's.
This is
Or
the
go
part
ahead,
where
go ahead.
we uncut because Marty was talking about classified Clado information.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Okay. Any last remarks
Any
for
last words?
uh, our topic for this segment?
I would say like so there's Dr. Janice Mackey who runs YASPA. I think mostly Aurora, but basically Denver metro area. Like one thing that she's told me is just like take up your space, like own it, whatever that space is. Whether it's like going to like some meeting, maybe you got invited to a meeting and they want to listen to you, like take up the space, like speak your truth, and charge for it too is what she also says, like, if you want to pick my brain and pay me for that. But the main idea is like step into your power, just step into your, I think is what she says, step into your power, I think is the word that she would say. But like it's one thing that I'm personally working on, just because when it comes to like these social justice things, I do think sometimes people can overthink. Like like I don't want to be like egotistical, or I don't want to be anything like that. But I think sometimes you just gotta just put yourself out there, because at the end of the day, we still live in a capitalist society, and odds are you're gonna have to likely make money. And when you step into your power, more often than not, like you'll probably be rewarded for it. Is what I'm saying. You make the big bucks, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. I would just add on to it, like, definitely step into your power, but never let your power cloud your judgment, and
Mm.
never let your power take you away from being humble.
I think
Um,
I think what Malachi's saying is don't let the dark side get you. Of
yeah,
course, yeah. Don't let the dark side get you. But sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah. Just because, like, there's other people that have powers just like you, uh, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. You always gotta work with other people because that's how we make it in this world.
Yeah.
Um, important. Right here. A spot is built that got it with um really that's what I do recognize. We can't do it on our own. Hopefully that's the thing that sticks after episode thoughts and wisdom had to, well, not that you have to share it, but you gave
Yeah.
me your words of wisdom. I really appreciate that because it makes me feel less alone in the journey. And anything, it can get type of work very overbearing when people in your life are not as entrenched in this type of work like you are. It can be hard for them. Having the really be that for me and be a listening ear and a shoulder to cry in, because trust me, both of y'all have been. It's life changing. It has helped me get to where I am today, and for that I am extremely. There is so much more coming, and I have so much love and admiration for the two of you. So thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who is watching this and who's taken the time to listen to all of these wonderful insights by these gentlemen. If you would like to say anything else, I will close out here.
It's good.
Yeah.
Thanks for the space.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching.